Good evening, everybody. I am Marguerite Crespillo, and welcome to another fabulous Real Estate 101 class where we teach everything that we know. We take all of our information and try to download it into your brain to help you build your own very own version of success. So, tonight I have a special guest, Mitzi De La Cruz. How are you, Mitzi? And what we want to talk about tonight is how to really how to brand yourself and become a household name. Now, one thing I will point out is that branding in itself is a long term gig. It's not something where you're going to go post something and now all of a sudden the whole world knows who you are, right? And so it's really something where it's something that you're doing in addition to all the other stuff you're doing to get right now business. But this will help you start to over time. Like, for example, I went in today, I had a piece of art framed at Sierra Hills Framing in Lincoln. And I went in there today to pick up my piece of art, and the guy goes, "Hey, I thought your name sounded really familiar." He goes, "Aren't you in real estate?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been in real estate a long time." He goes, "Yeah, your name sounded really familiar." I go, "Yeah." I go, "You probably know Mitzi De La Cruz too, right?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, Lincoln Live, right?" So the guy at Sierra Hills Framing instantly knew both of us, right? Because of the branding that we've done and established over the years. So Mitzi, take it away.
All right. So, um, again, what just piggybacking off what Marguerite said, it's a way for you to build a brand in your community where you become that household name and people start to know you, whether you're at the grocery store or just getting gas or whatever. You'll see people smile at you with familiarity, and then when people have a real estate need, you come to mind. It's just one of those things that happens. This is not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's not necessarily going to result in right now business, but this is the way that you build a sustainable long-term business over time, and that is really to start to brand yourself depending on what your passions are, and what's important to you. uh, the more genuine and you know, um, transparent you are in your pursuit of this, the more people are going to perceive what it is that makes you likable, trustworthy, and you're going to start to attract the people that you actually that resonates with them. So not everyone in your town is going to call you when they have a real estate need, but many people are going to do that just based off the fact that they have that opportunity to connect with you and get to know you, like you, trust you. So with that, before you ever step foot in someone's door, you have the opportunity to um, have them feel like they know you already. Again, I talked about that. Your face, your name are known throughout the community. People see you as a connector, networker, and someone that they need to know. So it's pretty cool.
So there's actually, I'll pop in. There's a great book that you guys can get called "Swim with the Sharks" by Harvey Mackey. And what I love about Harvey is he talks about the most valuable thing you own is your Rolodex. For those of you who don't know what a Rolodex is, it's your database. But he also talks about becoming a master connector. And so I love how you used that word, Mitzi, um, is is master connector, because the more that you can connect people and help, there's a famous saying that says, help enough other people get what they want and you'll get everything you want, right?
That's
Mitzi,
right.
do you have dual screens or
I
no?
don't.
Okay. So you could just close your notes there if you want, unless you want to leave the whole thing open. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
So what is a brand, and how do you get other people to recognize your brand? So think about a brand like this. If you get a cut on your finger, um, what do you reach for? You reach for a band-aid. Nobody says, hand me a bandage, but really the technical term is a bandage. It's not a band-aid. Band-aid has done such a phenomenal job of branding themselves as the item of choice, of the brand that most people are going to spend money on and whatnot, that the name is actually synonymous with the bandage. Same thing with Q-tips. Those are
And
actually called
Kleenex.
swabs. Yeah, Kleenex. Those are tissues. But in any case, when you think about what your brand is, it's how people in your marketplace perceive you, whether you are the realtor of choice in the military community, or maybe you spend quite a bit of time working with seniors, and so Sun City like the back of your hand, or whatever the retirement community is in your market. So really being intentional with thinking about who is it that you're wanting to market to, who is your ideal client, and then how do you get in front of those people? So I mention that because as realtors, we're constantly getting bombarded with sales calls, emails, people wanting to sell us, a position at the local grocery store on the cart, or I'm sure you guys have all gotten the same calls. The point is, you can spend a whole lot of money trying to figure out this business, but your ideal client is probably not looking for you on the cart at the grocery store. They want to, again, get to know you, like you, trust you, which is what everything in this business goes back to. And so you need to be where they're at and showing up in a way that they understand that you have a lot, they have a lot in common with you. So it builds that familiarity and that relationship before you've ever even met. So building a successful brand, I always say you want to really start with being intentional about who your ideal avatar or your ideal client is. It doesn't mean you're not going to help people outside of that demographic, but for example, if you're working with military families relocating in and out of the area, well, then you're probably going to want to be intentional with, showing up to events, veteran events, things of that nature, or joining some local social media groups where there's a high presence of military families moving in and out of the area. Things of that nature. You're going to want to think about what the pain points are of those military families and how do you help them to solve their problems. So for example, I'm working with the military family now that isn't even going to move to the area until June, but they understand that it's a very, very aggressive market and there's, a lot of competition. So we're already looking, and should we close on a house within the next month or two, I'm probably going to need to help them, keep their flowers watered and the lawn mowed, things of that nature. Check their mail every once in a while. Like how can you show up in a way that's going to help solve the problems of the people that you're looking to serve? And so that's something that you really want to spend a little bit of time just kind of thinking about, again, who is your ideal client and how are you going to get in front of them? And then how are you that, community, that culture of individuals that you're looking to work with. So, that's going to be a really important thing to really take a step back and look at, where people are at, what their needs are, and then help to convey to them that you are someone who not only cares about what their needs are, but that you are there to help.
So something else to think about is, as she talks about your avatar, is thinking about, there's another great class that we'll teach in the coming weeks, but is available in masterclass called Getting Rich in Your Niche.
Mm-hmm.
And that class is designed to talk about who specifically do you want to target, right? Like what is the community? It doesn't mean that's the only person you can sell a house to. It just means that if you're more specific, like a perfect example is, if any of you guys have been to Green Acres, the garden nursery place. Well, whenever you pull into Green Acres, you might notice, and maybe you haven't noticed it before, but you'll notice it now. There's usually a van out front, and on that van, it says Sprinkler Medic. And if you think about that, how many of you have had issues at some point with your sprinkler system in your house, right? Or know somebody who has? Well, I promise you that when I hear of anybody having that issue, the very first thing I think of now is sprinkler medic. And so those are things like, as a real estate agent, there's a lot of niches that you can get into, and we'll teach that more in another class. But, I know a friend who lives in Florida, and they call themselves the condo king because he literally has mastered knowing all of the particular condominium complexes in his market, and he knows everything about them. So if anyone's thinking about buying a condo, his name is the first one that pops up.
Absolutely. The thing that I would mention as well, kind of piggybacking off that, is as you are creating that branding in your marketplace to let folks know that you are looking to serve, a specific client, you may not, the phone may not ring on that first marketing piece, or that first post or postcard or whatever. It may not ring on the second or the third or even the 10th, but what you'll start to see happen is, somebody will be looking for a realtor to serve them in whatever capacity, someone moving into the area or whatnot, who needs that Sacramento expert or whatever. And then all of a sudden you'll start to see that you're becoming nominated as the realtor of choice to take care of that person who's looking for that expert, even though you're being nominated by people that you've never even talked to or worked with, because they're starting to get that brand recognition.
So that's a good point, because like for those of you who are with EXP in Workplace, you have the option of changing the name that shows up on your avatar in both Workplace and in EXP World. So because my name is 19 letters long, I actually just take my first name and it says Marguerite Roseville, California. So if anybody is looking for an agent in Roseville, my name is going to be the name that pops up, and they're going to see that and they're going to remember it. So that's another great tip that you can utilize.
So this next slide talks about adding value in all that you do. People who add value to others do so intentionally. I say that because to add value, leaders must give of themselves, and that rarely occurs by accident. That's John C. Maxwell. The thing is that you definitely want to be adding value, whether it's someone in your community who's looking for a realtor, just to give them a market analysis because maybe they're thinking of refinancing their home. They're not looking to sell, they're going to live there forever. Just being that person who shows up and says, hey, I'm here to take care of all your real estate needs, regardless of whether or not there's anything in it for me. I just want to take great care of my community. That's a great opportunity to build relationships and to really strengthen your brand as the real estate expert. When I was newer in my career, I remember back then there were a lot of scams going on with people who would say that they were the owner of a property, and then they would post a rental, a property for rent, and then someone would bite, and then they'd say, well, I'm out of town with my sick mom or whatever, but can you wire me money here? And then all these people were getting scammed. So what I did was I went on to my community pages and I posted and I said, hey, I don't want to see any of my neighbors, get scammed and lose money in this manner. If you have any questions about a property, about whether or not the person advertises is truly, in fact, the owner, call me, PM me, text me, whatever. And I was able to build great relationships that way. Another time I went to the Placer County Association of Realtors and borrowed their big bolt cutters and went around and cut some lock boxes, like really ancient lock boxes off of people's properties that had been there for years. Again, just as a service to those people. And obviously I checked to make sure, with the PCAR that, I was fine to do that and all of that. But, people appreciate that because they want to know that you care about them. They want to, instead of just being all about, you and how they can help your business. So just another tip to help strengthen your brand in that
I forgot you did that with the lock boxes. That was such a great idea. I don't think I've heard anybody do that since either, but a great idea you guys can think about is if you're in a particular neighborhood, you can post in your local good neighbors on Facebook group and say, hey, I've heard of a lot of people that have extra lock boxes on their house and would like to get them removed.
Well, the cool thing is there's not even necessarily a way to quantify, like, how these things that, again, you're doing from a genuine place where you just want to take great care of people. Like, how does that equate? Nobody's ever going to call you up and say, hey, I saw you cut off my neighbor's lockbox, a year ago. Would you help me sell my house? It doesn't work like that. What people will say, you'll start hearing people all the time say, I see you everywhere. I see you everywhere. And I'd like some help, understanding what my house is worth, or, I see you everywhere. And I know that, this community, help me sell it to, someone else and get that top dollar and things like that. So it's just, every single thing that you do when you're showing up as that market leader, it all enhances your brand. So
when you come from contribution, right? So
absolutely.
you can actually talk about that on your next slide.
Yeah, so this is a photo of an annual event that I do, my family and I do at the our local park. We every year we get together and we feed the homeless. We pull together resources, warm clothing, jackets, toiletries, all of those things, and just to take care of people. Again, it has nothing to do with wanting to sell houses. It has to do with that's who I am as a person, and so I love the opportunity to show up in a way that people are gonna understand more about who I am, which results in a indirect way, obviously, and strengthening my brand. But I literally started doing this 6 years ago with my children when I couldn't afford to buy them Christmas presents. So rather than, struggle as a mother to feel, to feel happy about the fact that I couldn't give my kids what I wanted to give them, I just took a step back and really evaluated what Christmas is all about. And it's about loving on people, taking care of people, showing up in that way, positive way. And so we decided to, pull the community together, and it really just took off and became a life of its own rather. And now I have people that meet me throughout the year and they're like, oh yeah, you feed the homeless at Christmas. I want to get involved. I hear that all the time. Put me on your list. I want to get involved next year. So it's been pretty amazing.
There's lots of ways and resources that, you can do this that makes sense for you, right?
Right.
So maybe this isn't a kind of activity that you're able to do in your community, but you could become the expert on homes with pools, or like I became an expert on country property and estates, right? And then you can use that to create an entire brand around that. So what I think mostly she's saying is that the more that you can give, right, the more that you will get back. And so whatever you can do to help with anything in your community that can attract attention, and make sure that you keep your motives pure, right? When you do things for the money never comes. When you do it because it's something you love and you're doing it because it's a true contribution from the heart, things will start to come together for you.
100%. Yeah, I always tell people, if you if you don't like cats, for example, don't go join the board of directors for the cat society, or whatever it is. Like, get with something, a mission that you're passionate about, and then start to show up in that way. So it's definitely more authentic. So this slide talks about Lincoln Live, which funny story how Lincoln Live came about, but it basically went from a blog that I used to do when I was new in real estate, where I'd blog about real estate, and nobody read my blog. It was terrible. I'd go on there, I'm like, wow, 12 people this week. We're gaining traction. This is awesome, and So anyway, as I continued to blog about real estate, I wasn't really gaining a lot of viewers, followers, anything of that nature. But I was driving down the road one day, and there's a lemonade stand and a little boy at the lemonade stand. So I pull over, and now I'm going to buy lemonade from him. He's so cute. He's 3 years old, and he's got lemonade for sale. It's a hot day, so I bought some lemonade, and I told his dad I thought it was really cool. He was out here with the son, and he mentioned, that they were actually raising money for a family whose little boy was just diagnosed with brain cancer. So I asked if they would let me write about, and they agreed. And so I wrote up this article, and overnight I had like over 1,000 views, and people were sharing it, and people cared. And I really learned a big lesson that, nobody really necessarily cares about buying and selling real estate unless they're buying and selling real estate, not if that's the whole, um, message. There's got to be some human interest and something for people to be able to connect with. So actually, Marguerite and I were talking about how do we take that and then kind of move it from a platform that was kind of very time consuming, and move that into a platform where people would like to learn about the community. They would tune in, it would be interactive, things of that nature. So I started Lincoln Live, which is a Facebook page, and I go around weekly and interview local business owners, 501c3 nonprofits, community leaders, just anyone really with a story to tell. And I've been doing that consistently weekly it'll be 4 years in July. And I mean, now I'll be at the grocery store and I'm talking to someone, and there's somebody with their back turned towards me, and they hear my voice, and they turn around. Oh, I recognize that voice. That just happened to me like a month ago. And this gal was like, I'm going to be calling you really soon to buy a house. She's like, if you don't think people are watching, we're watching, and it was, it was pretty cool. I'd never met her before, didn't know her from Adam, but, it's just.
Mitzi has basically become like the mini mayor of Lincoln, right? Like everybody knows who she is and everybody knows her show. And, she did this with zero budget, and she did it with no professional skills or support, right, in the beginning. You've actually, come a long way. I can't believe it's been almost 4 years, but it literally started with a simple idea. Let's go interview people. And I now see people kind of copying it around the country. I love to say that it was, your original thought, and hopefully it was, but it's something that you can do. And it does not have to be an entire town. It could be, a simple part of town or a neighborhood. It could be, the west side, or, whatever that area is that you want to focus on. But video is absolutely taking over, and anything that you can do with video. And to be honest with you, the more real they are, the more likely that they will get attention. So don't feel like you have to look perfect and be polished and do, all of this stuff. The more, like, I think the bloopers many times are the best part, right?
Absolutely. And there's a reason, you guys, why reality shows are the top shows that are watched on a regular basis. People want to see the authentic you. Just like Marguerite said, they don't want to see that polished, made up version of you. Like, I have no makeup on. I did Lincoln Live today. Showed up, my face is all shiny. I'm like, oh damn, we just got the ring light, so people can really see it now. But I got to step my game up. But the reality is, like, nobody cares. They're not there for me anyway. They're there for the guest, and the guests, their whole sphere of influence obviously is tuning in to support them. And so they just care that you showed up, and they just cared that you thought enough of them and their mission or their business to try and give them some visibility. So,
and during these times, this is honestly needed more than anything. Like, we just had a new business open in Lincoln, the Bagels and Bean place.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't really know anything about it except that I saw, you posted something and they were having an event. So I went in there the other day when I think the second day they were open or the first day. And I said, yeah, I go, hey, I just want to let you know, I saw you guys on, Mitzi mentioned you. And so she goes, oh yeah, that was so awesome. We've had all kinds of people coming in and talking about it today. So, right, this new little small business that's trying to open during a pandemic, that was a game changer to really help them with their business. And so imagine what you can do in your particular area or your particular market, and what you can do to help these businesses.
Yeah, it's huge, and I know people so appreciate it. We actually did a Lincoln Live marathon as soon as COVID hit, so we were just all via Zoom. But I did 3 weeks in a row, Lincoln Live every day, so it was pretty cool. So we all know the rule of reciprocity, right? The rule of reciprocity. It's a conditional response where people are compelled to return the kindness of a gift, even if they don't really want to. Like you go to the bar, right? You go to the bar with your friend, and your friend says, okay, I'm going to buy the first round. Well, guess what? You're buying the second round, and you may even feel compelled to buy the third round, because that's the rule of reciprocity. It's just like, I think it was Zig Ziglar, right? That said, you help enough people get what they want, then you in turn are going to get what you want. But you don't do it from a place of that. Like I never think about the things that I do in my community and the boards that I serve on, or any of the many things that I do to help out. From a standpoint of, well, how many deals did I do this year? How did this actually turn into business? I'm having so much fun just showing up in my community and just loving on people, that all that the business just doesn't stop. It just continues to flow. But the real estate's really the means that help me to impact my community, versus my community impact being the means to get more business. So I think when you think about it like that, it really does take all the pressure out of why you do what you do. You just take great care of people. So this talks about leveraging video and social media to dominate. So I just want to touch on the fact that, like I'd mentioned earlier on, that when you identify who your target audience is, you want to show up where they're at. Well, here's the thing, we all know that there's different users are using different platforms when it comes to social media. So, you can really go down a bunny rabbit hole just by researching, like, what's the demographics of YouTube users, or Twitter, or LinkedIn, or Facebook, or what's the little red square? Or orange square? I don't know. But in any case, whatever the medium is, you can really figure out, like, where are the people out that you're wanting to get in front of. So for example, Nextdoor app is really big in my market for a little bit of an older demographic. So, I'm probably not going to spend a ton of time there, because the avatar that I serve isn't typically that older client, just because that it's just not who I end up taking care of. Now, if I get people, like I said, in that category, I'm here for them, and I love to take great care of them. But I've probably showed 100 houses in Sun City, never sold one. I'll tell you. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time there, So, likewise, if I'm really trying to get in front of my ideal client, which is people that actually have lives that look a lot like mine, with the families, and for whatever reason, I usually end up with families that have at least one special needs child, especially at the beginning of my career. I don't know why, but that was just like, if you could draw a box around the people that I was taking care of and really identify the people, then I could see, like, okay, these are my clients, or, they're laid back, they're fun, they, typically make, this amount of money per year, whatnot. So there are corresponding data that you can access that shows you where the people that you're trying to get in front of are. So like I said, it wouldn't necessarily make a lot of sense for me to build this huge, crazy brand in next door if I'm not in front of the right people. Or LinkedIn, maybe you decide that you want your business to focus on being the relocation specialist for all of these big tech companies that are coming into the Tri-Counties area. In that case, you're probably going to want to spend way more time on LinkedIn, branding yourself, sharing relevant articles and properties and things of that nature than you are going to spend on Twitter, for example, if that's not the content that's being shared on Twitter. So you get the point. But there's only so many hours in a day, and so when you're creating that brand, you really want to be intentional with where you're spending your time. I could tell you 100 things to do right now. If you go out and do these 100 things, you're going to get clients, but there's no way in heck you're going to be able to do all those 100 things. So stop trying to do all the 100 things and just figure out what things are actually going to be the most impactful and focus on those.
Yeah, I want to add to that is that, it's so easy, real estate as a whole attracts us squirrels, right? Where we're always trying to do a million different things and trying to figure out what is best. But I promise you, if you will find one area and focus on it, it does not mean you cannot sell in other areas. For example, if you become the condo king or queen, does not mean you can't sell a luxury home or help a first-time home buyer. But if you can focus in that particular niche and become known for that particular niche, you can do an extraordinary amount of business, because people are more likely to follow you because of a particular niche than follow you just because you're Marguerite Crespillo. Like, nobody really cares about me in that way, but they do care if they know that I can help them with a particular need. Like, find a need and fill it. You find that need and fill it, and you will do extraordinarily well. And, like I said, it can be focusing on horse properties. It can be, focusing on homes with pools. Like, imagine if you wanted to focus, with summer coming, people are going to want to spend more time in their yard. What if you went out and videoed, 10 houses with pools and highlighted those and talked about them? Like, I think Kelly Zimmerman for a while did a thing with Kaylee, right? Kelly and Kaylee in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically went out and had wine and did videos in all these different, of course they asked permission, went to these different kitchens and did this whole video show, and it was awesome. I hope she brings that back, by the way. I know we haven't been able to do it because of COVID, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved it. They would also talk about the type of wine that they were drinking and where it came from. So it was really, not only are they, building their brand, they're marketing the property whose kitchen they're standing in. But in addition, they're also having to market for the winery. So there was just several different points, and they had a great time. They had so much fun. So yeah, that was really cool. And so the last thing that I'll just mention is, once you identify your audience and make your show or make your message or whatever it is your own, again, you want to tailor it to what you're passionate about or what is important to you, and then attract those people that are like-minded. By finding your target audience, you can tailor or craft messages that appeal specifically to that group and to those group of people. And then you're not fighting this uphill battle trying to make everybody know you, like you, trust you. I love what Kelly Zimmerman says. She says, you could be the sweetest peach on the tree, but some people just don't like peaches. And that's okay. That is okay. Like, I want to find the people that like peaches. Like, that's my goal. So
yeah, and don't get caught up in the people that don't, right? Again,
Mm-mm.
it's easy to get focused on what you don't have instead of focusing on what you do have. And there are so many people out there that, will love you where you're at, and focus on those instead of the ones who, don't. So there's somebody for everybody, right?
That's right. And so like I said, I had taught this class in the cloud. So I've got all my contact information, and it's actually available for all of you as well. So if you have any questions, or if you're thinking about doing a show, or doing anything else of that nature. Like, I love that kind of thing. So even if you just want to come to the office and just role play, or get some practice working with the equipment, or find out what kind of equipment we're using, I'm happy to be here for you guys too. So don't hesitate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mitzi. Does anybody have any questions? Now, we also a couple weeks ago did a class. All of these classes, first of all, are available on my YouTube. So you guys can head on over to YouTube and just Google my name. Let me see if I can stop this share real quick. Or Mitzi, I think you have to stop the share. There it is. There we go. There's also on my YouTube, I know that Lee Moritis out in Michigan has a great program called Explore My Town that you guys can check out too. There's a cost associated with that one, but they do a lot of the work for you if you like. But all of these classes are available on my YouTube. So head on over to YouTube, search my name and subscribe. And then again, a lot of the trainings, we also post these recordings of these inside our Facebook group. We have a private one for those who are with EXP. If you're not with EXP, we also post them in Real Estate Success Strategies and Accountability Facebook group. So you guys can invite people to this. It's open to anybody with any company and it's brand neutral. So you're welcome to invite anybody that you want here. Before we wrap up, any questions, comments, thoughts? Well, if there's no other questions, then we will wrap it up. Great information, Mitzi. Thank you as always. And again, if you guys have additional trainings you'd like to see, or you would like me to have a special guest on, please send me. I'm always looking for ideas. We do this every Tuesday night with the intent to allow those who are working during the day or have other stuff going on. So pour yourself a glass of wine or a beer or a glass of orange juice and join us every Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.